filmmakers of the brilliant film you just saw. So up first, please help me welcome here Mr. Robert Eggers, the co-writer and director of Lighthouse. Now next up, if you please, we will have one of the stars, Mr. Willem Dafoe. Pattinson. Gentlemen, first of all, everyone in this audience right now, I've been where you are, where you're just like, what was this bad shit thing I just saw? It's brilliant, but what did I see? So, Robert, I'm gonna start with you because you made this bad shit thing and it's brilliant, but I wonder, like, what about it, because you wrote it with your brother, and the fact that you guys are doing a lot of flatulence, two guys living in a room, kind of, maybe they don't like each other, and the masturbation, I just feel like there's some childhood stuff you're working out for this one. I'm gonna guess.
No. Max and I get along very well, but because I'm older, I definitely was the Dafoe to his Pattinson for sure. But you know, we've never been lighthouse keepers on a 19th century lighthouse station, so there's a lot of research involved. But you know, there are certain autobiographical things that you have to put into any piece in order for it to work. And it was really when I was working in the dregs of the New York indie film world that I was often in, sleeping in close quarters with flatulent colleagues.
Yeah, anyone that's ever shared a room unwillingly, I feel your pain. The next thing I want to ask you, because you talked about the research of it, the film is so detailed. It is just, I don't know how to put it, just incredibly vivid and vibrant, and every frame feels like it has thought and intention behind it, and I know that's not by accident, and I know that it's in the DNA of the script. So what was the research process? And I want you to talk particularly about the painter I know that you pulled a lot from. There was a painter that you guys kind of gave your research to.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, I've said before, there's a lot of, it's easy to research lighthouses, and because people like lighthouses, so there's tons of books available. And also, thankfully, unlike The Witch, photography had been invented in the 19th century, so there was lots of photographic evidence to recreate the physical material world. But my process and my brother's process on this movie is so research-based that anything can help tell the story and inspire a scene. So, in the manual, the Lighthouse Keeper's manual that Robert's character mentions and it reads in the book, talks about how many rations of salt cod and beans they're supposed to have. That can inspire a scene. How you're supposed to clean the cistern in that manual can inspire a scene. But as we're looking at so many different things, like Melville, for example, because it's New England and the 19th century nautical setting. He's inspiring stuff, which made us realize that Defoe's sea spells are going to have allusions to classical mythology. And from classical mythology, that starts leading us into symbolist painting, which starts leading us into Jean Delville and Arnold Buckland and Sascha Schneider. Is that who you're talking about?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's I trying to, as best I can, take my influences and digest them through some alchemical process into something new. But in the image where Dafoe is, spoiler alert, naked and shining his light into Rob's eyes, there was no alchemical process there. I was pretty much stealing that from an image by the symbolist painter Sascha Schneider, but it was too good of an image not to use.
If you guys cannot tell by listening to him go into that, just the details of that's the reason why, like, you watch this film and it feels like a documentary. It doesn't even feel like a narrative fiction or a period piece. And Willem, I know that's, part of the reason why you were attracted to work with Robert, but the thing I think you have, like, a hardest time with is the language, because that can go cartoonish so quickly and poorly, but I know you guys had a guide for that in your research. So yeah, talk about finding the voice.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, one of the beautiful things when I first read the script was that language, because it's very rare in a movie that you get to play with elevated language like that, poetic language, antiquated language, full of slang and really juicy images. So that became very important. Of course, you have to learn how to, I had to find the rhythm, I had to find the music, because really the meaning is expressed through the music. So you've got to practice that to find out what it is, and then you got to make it like it's normal speech, because you don't want it to disconnect from the story and become like a party piece or a show-off thing, It can't disconnect, so it has to still function in our conversation as if this is the way we talk, which is a tricky thing, but it's beautiful, because it's just like when an actor uses a mask. Sometimes when you use something artificial, it lets out something that you could possibly not release without that mask. So it becomes a weird kind of device and another way to reach a deeper kind of communication. The writing's very good for me. I mean, I like it a lot, and the images are so evocative. So that puts you in a whole world. You get a sense of it when I'm just listening to him now and talk about his research. Imagine being immersed in that and having him give you all that material. You start to enter a world, and then you experience it physically. Then you deal with this language. It takes you further and further away from yourself, and then you have these things to do. You have an experience. You have an experience that you learn something, and you have a shift of how you think and how you feel, and that's really powerful. And then hopefully that'll be transparent enough that the audience will feel that experience that is happening. So for an actor to be in a situation with a director like this that is so articulate, so rigorous, and is so connected to another time is very cool.
And
Yeah.
And the three of us in the film at large, we're lucky to have Dafoe playing this character, because his dialect and accent is very researched. But in the hands of someone else, it is the sea captain from The Simpsons or Grandpa Dog from Peppa Pig, and it takes Dafoe to make you believe the reality of this very researched thing.
Luckily, I've never seen those things. Otherwise, I would be pissing myself while I did it.
No, you were not the dude from Peppa Pig. I was just thinking, oh my god, that's such a deep pull. I can't believe I would have never thought of that. But Mr. Pattinson, I'm gonna go to you because you guys made it hard for me. We're both named Robert. This film, I know for a fact, like, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, like, Robert said in the last Q&A how you guys had met on some other things and maybe he was interested in casting you in some stuff, but it was this script in particular, when he sent it to you, you came back with this just like anxious vibe, like I have to do this, and I know it's probably because that script was as brilliant as the script for The Witch, which is another film that Robert made, his first one that was brilliant. But talk to me about that meeting, and you have to tell this crowd about that YouTube video. You guys are
I can't repeat the same name.
No, you have to tell them about the.
I wasn't like, Robert surprised me, because I'd forgotten my first meeting with him. And
About this movie.
And now I remembered where it was from. I used to be.
See?
Well, a lot of my research for all of my parts is from an Instagram called Drunk People Doing Things. And there was this one guy who, I don't know why, I read this very, very erudite beautifully articulate script. And then when I came back, my first thought was to show this video of a guy kind of rolling on ecstasy, screaming at another guy in a club, saying, "I'm gonna teach you how to fuck. I'm gonna teach you how to fuck." And I showed it to Robert, and I was like, "This is the guy."
And he was right. Though the funny thing is, at the last Q&A, I thought he was saying, "I am a demon." So, I don't know what that says about how what's inside me and what's inside Rob.
No, I mean, look, they're happy that they have this information now. Trust me, they're all gonna look
If
at that
anyone can
Instagram.
find that video as well, please kind of promote it somewhere. Because I actually tried to find it in the car on the way here and I couldn't find it again. If you try to Google "teach me how to fuck" videos, it brings up a lot of stuff.
But not to just, stick on the YouTube video, but Rob, you had such early success in your career and you were very vocal in saying that after that you could do whatever you want, and I know for a fact
Actually,
whatever.
I'm hijacking this. I've been wanting to know this for a long time, but I don't want to bring up Harry Potter and Twilight, but
Why not?
Oh, you can do it, but okay, if I was wanted to be in Claire Denis movies when I was a very young man, and I got offered Edward and Twilight, I would fucking take that role. Hell yeah. But did you always have more arty aspirations, or were you more interested in doing more commercial cinema, when you got the Twilight role?
Yeah, I mean, in my head, I'm always doing art house.
Yeah.
Literally, no matter what. But I just, it's the audience really decides.
Yeah,
sure.
But when I'm approaching it, everything is kind of, I want to push things as extreme as I can, and it's really just the rating and the director that will kind of stop you. I mean, it's kind of, I would make everything as strange as possible.
I love that so much.
But
isn't it true that when actors first start out, the first thing they want is just to work?
Yeah.
And then once they're working, then they want to work in good projects, and then once they're working in good projects, they want to work in good projects with people that really inspire them.
Yeah.
So that's
It's
kind of a natural progression.
Yeah, but I was frightened of, because I wasn't that certain I even wanted to be an actor at the beginning. And so it's kind of, and so I was kind of thinking, there was a part of me thinking you could really embarrass yourself on such a scale that you wouldn't even be able to be a dentist. And so I was.
Hell no, you're not going to take my dentist. I saw you in that movie.
But when I said, "Hey, Dafoe, here's the script. It's you and Pattinson. Do you want to do it?" And he said,
"Ooh."
No. He was like, he had a similar reaction to me. He was like, he's mysterious. Even in the Twilight days, I thought he was interesting and mysterious and cause you always had
the good thing.
Yeah. No, it's not just obviously you're beautiful, but there was something really special.
I didn't say beautiful, I said a good face.
And then with Rob, I said, okay, so do you want to do you and Dafoe? And he said, Dafoe could scare me.
Did I say that?
You did.
Oh.
Well, I will say, gentlemen.
You said he's kind of small, but he could scare
I did
me.
not say that either!
Y'all are getting all the inside stuff. And as I said in the last Q&A, the behind-the-scenes making of the Lighthouse is probably just as interesting as the film we just watched. So, A24, please make a featurette happen to detail all about all this greatness. No, this is one thing I will say, Robert, and I don't want to forget it. you married a lot of different camera techniques on this film, and it was a labor of love, from like huge cranes to using 19th centuries type filmmaking process. So I know you did it because you wanted people to get excited about cinema. So real quick, get professorial on us real quick and tell us how you were able to put all these three things together and make like the end product.
So if you like or don't like the cinematic language of my movies, all two of them and some short films, it's a collaboration between me and Jared Blaschke, my DP. We work very collaboratively. Thank you, Jared. And you know, this movie's been kicking around in some form of my imagination since 2011 or 13 or something like that. So Jared and I have been talking about it for years, and we were somewhat limited to, like, and we knew we wanted it to be in a boxy aspect ratio, and we knew we wanted it to be black and white, and we had many ideas of what it could be. But you know, reality is reality, and sometimes you just can't do any better than reality. So we would have wanted to have photographed this movie on orthochromatic film stock, like early film stock of the 19th century, but you can't get that for motion pictures anymore. So we settled on Kodak XX, which is a black and white negative that has not changed since the 1950s, and the blacks just kind of bottom out suddenly in a way that's very satisfying, and it has really intense micro contrast. And then Jaren worked with Schneider to develop a filter which gave us an orthochromatic look. And the broadest stroke about orthochromatic is basically it's not sensitive to red light. So all of anything red turns black. So all of the rosy hues and Caucasian skin tone turns darker, and you can see every blood vessel and vein, and it makes these two gentlemen look more like salty seamen. So when you look at Eisenstein's silent movies, and all these Russians look super tan, that's because of the film stock. And the Hollywood actors are using white pancake makeup to compensate for the film stock. You know, we were shooting from lenses from as early as 1905. Our main lens set was from the 30s, and it has beautiful characteristics. It helps give excellent close-ups to these four great cheekbones. And you know, I mean, look, like, but we tried stuff that we couldn't do. Jaren has a developer that he created for his still photography, his still black and white photography, that's superior to the baths in any laboratory for motion picture film. So we shot some test footage that Jaren processed in his bathtub that looked incredible, but you can't ensure a movie with Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe to be processed in the DP's bathtub. But again, all this isn't just fussy, nerdy stuff. I mean, it is, but it's all to create an atmosphere. It's all to transport us further back into time, to create an austere, bleak, unrelenting, black and white world of you know, lighthouse keepers. So it's all for a reason, not just because we're huge nerds.
I mean, I'm so enjoying that. Like, I want you to be huge nerds because the proof is in the pudding. Like, that is why that film feels like I said, so tangible, and I enjoyed every minute of that, and I did that for me, so I hope y'all liked it. Rob, I want to ask you a question because I was there at the first screening for this at the Directors Fortnight at Cannes, where this film won, I might add, the top prize. And the first question of the Q&A was about research, and that was one of the greatest moments, even early in the morning, is like, you were like, yeah, I think we researched this for like 3 weeks, and it was great, and then Rob was like, it was a week. It wasn't that long, so I want you to talk about like what was that rehearsal process like, and why maybe did it feel so long?
Well, it's because maybe you should talk about your psychic powers.
What?
Yeah, I think it's partially fear, partially I was kind of, yeah, it's I don't know. There's some, yeah. I mean, I feel always weird saying the same answer again. I'm sorry if anyone was in the last screening.
That's why I'm saying talk about your psychic powers.
What about how? How do I do that?
I don't know.
Psychic powers.
No, I mean, I think, yeah, just kind of, I was frightened. I was frightened of fucking it up. I was frightened of, I was intimidated by Willem's big hero of mine. I was intimidated by everyone. You guys can talk about the really clever books and stuff, and I don't know anything. Literally, I don't know any of the references. I was like, oh, I was, yeah, but yeah, and also because I'm sort of listening. I really, on the first day I was watching Willem, and it's like, it was really spectacular watching him, because Willem goes full power in rehearsals, and I could feel myself just reacting, like, because I'm reacting to it, and then I realized, I kind of like it, just reacting to it, and so I don't want to sort of remember how I feel and then just try and do it again, and I don't want to invent something, and so I kind of realized the more, because we would rehearse the entire movie, and then at the end of the movie just start the movie again, and so I was like, Jesus, I'm really, really worried about having to fake it, and I don't know how to fake it, especially.
I mean, you had trouble answering 2 Q&A questions the other night, so I'm not in any way surprised that you would be like, I don't want to act the movie again.
I'm one and done.
We're gonna get out of here soon, and I want to get a couple more questions in. Willem, I want you to talk about it, because again, if you guys can't guess, all of this research, all the time that Max and Robert put into it to bring this sort of vivid thing to life, I'm sure there's some details that we can't pick up on screen. So were there any like knickknacks or props or something from the costume that you were like, what is this, that Robert then decided to nerd out and explain to you?
Lots of things. You know, the cutlery was actually, they found real lighthouse cutlery from a real lighthouse. Everything was, it was a complete world. An example, there's a scene where you probably see me for about 10 seconds knitting. Well, guess what I did? I learned how to knit. Now, maybe it sounds foolish because you're learning something that's only going to be there for 10 seconds, and maybe you don't even notice whether I know how to knit. But that activity is a thing of the period. My grandfather was a champion knitter. It sent me to another time, and I learned a new skill. And when you learn something, you have a little shift in how you think, and it opens you up to kind of make a new person. It suggests to you that you can have a different set of impulses, a different set of thinking, and then put you in a place that's not a world that you know, but it is very complete. And that's where you start, you know. You're born again in that character. You can inhabit that with some sort of authority because you start to create an experience of being in that space that you have an association with. And it's really, it's a life. It's not a total life, but you get a taste of something really concrete. And when a director is as meticulous and as it has such a clear vision and needs these details, it helps an actor so much.
Yeah, and like I say again, that's what we just saw. That is the result that we see on stage. That's why I'm like gonna be screaming to everyone. I'm like, talk about this screenplay, talk about these performances, and talk about this film. I want to thank you guys so much for.